This video is going to help you become more persuasive. At the same time, it will teach you how to negotiate with other people, negotiate with yourself, so you can help break limiting beliefs. So this is the chapter 6 of the Diary of a CEO. It's a very great book, and I hope that after explaining summarizing this chapter to you, you might go and grab a copy of it. Stephen Bartlett did a very wonderful job here. So, you know what? The title of this episode is Ask, Don't Tell. The question or the behavior effect. Now, a lot of people are trying to convince other people, right? They are trying to force other people to do certain things. But instead of forcing, right? This is why you should learn how to become more persuasive. Because what you're doing is when you force somebody, you're making them have a negative reaction towards you as a person. But when you persuading itself looks like manipulation, but if done with the right intention, it's called persuading. With the wrong intention, it's called manipulating. Very thin line. So now, the main thing here you're going to take from this episode is about asking questions. If you know how to ask questions, you can achieve a whole lot than somebody who is making statements. Because why? When you make statements, it feels like you are directing, you are forcing, you are commanding. Even the best leaders, they know how to use this as a powerful tool. If you know how to question, it becomes easier to talk to women. If you know how to question, it becomes easy to get things. But when you give commands, yes, if you're in a place of leadership and you're giving commands, at some point, it just feel one-sided. Even the best military leaders, I think even Jocko Willink talked about how he uses questions to assist. And one beautiful thing about question is the fact that everybody has an idea, the solution to their problems. Still, they want somebody else to tell them. Which reminds me of one of my online mentors that I saw. He made a quote. He said that he's into fraud, right? He said he's into fraud. And when he asked, what do you mean by you're into fraud? He says, whenever companies come to him and they say they have a problem, he asks them for what they think is a potential solution. 9 out of 10 times, he goes to do his research and discovers that is already their solution. So he goes for a couple of weeks, prepares a couple of slides, then he appears in their office with his team, and then they break down the solution to them, step-by-step guide, and they pay him good. They pay him in dollars, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because he's a Nigerian, so that's why I said tens to hundreds. And he's living well. He travels around the world because he knows how to question. You see, even if you know how to question, it becomes easier to sell because there's a psychology, there's an art to question. Now, I'm not here to talk about the tonality because there's also a tonality, right, when you're delivering questions. And the people who have nailed this thing to their second nature are women. When women want to get you to do something, they ask questions. Don't imply. This is why a lot of women manipulate men and the men don't see it coming. Now, asking questions is an art to it, which I think I'll create a different video about the art of questioning, right? Even if you want to become an interesting person, as an introvert, this is very powerful. As an introvert, by just learning how to ask questions, right? You can just appear to be very interesting just by asking very good questions. So now, when it comes to asking questions, right? There are 3 kinds of questions I want you to take note of here. And the most powerful, I'll start with the most powerful. The first one is will. Like if you start your question with the word will, W-I-L-L. W-I-L-L, will. When you ask a question with will, right? Will you do this? It shows that, it implies that you are making the person take ownership of the action you're about him to take. So for example, will you go to the grocery store? If he says yes, right? If he says yes, what that means is that he has, to some extent, right, for some extent, made a promise to you subconsciously, even to himself, that he's going to do something. He's going to take the action. And if he does not take the action, he has broken his promise. He has broken his own word that he gave out. Now, it's more powerful to use that than can or could. So can and could implies that, does the person have the ability to do it? Or so can you go to the store for me? It might be a yes or a no question, right? obviously it can be a yes or no answer, but you're giving too much room, right, for him to say, for him to come up with excuses, for him to wiggle around, right? When you use the word can or will, you're mostly implying that the person may or may not have the ability to do it. So what that means is, can you? That is when things like other objects like, I have to go here, I have to run this errand, I have to be somewhere, because what? That can or could at the beginning of the question imply that he may not have the ability, he may have some limitations. And mind you, one life hack is, if you give yourself limitations, right, you will be bounded by that limitation because you gave it to yourself. But when you begin to open your mind, it's very difficult. And that is why questioning, which I'll get to later, is also very powerful to break limiting beliefs. Now, the third kind of questions are would, right, which implies that there is a condition, yeah, and that condition implies that it will be a possibility rather than a probability, which is a very thin line. So for it being a possibility, it means that it's a yes or no. But for it to be a probability, you can raise the level of probability between yes or no, because when you say possibility, yes or no is binary, right? Yes or no. But probability, if you're a math student, because I was a math student, you can learn how to raise the level of probability that the person says yes. So would you go to the store for me in the afternoon? Because why is would? But think about it. So these are three different questions. Will you go to the store for me? It's a yes or no thing, right? It's direct. So you're giving me, what do they call it? You're giving me a yes or no answer, and you're going to be bounded by that answer. Can, all of a sudden, the mind of the person is popping up in multiple questions, right? Now, would also is like, well, it depends on the conditions he meets himself at that moment, right? Whether it's going to be a possibility or a probability, right? So now, when it comes to trying to give yourself a behavior or break a belief, if you keep asking yourself certain questions, like for example, is you want to break a belief about genes, because one of the greatest lies I've ever been told is because of your certain genes, you cannot do certain things, or because of your genes, you are predisposed to certain illnesses. In that process, a lot of people have actually gone ahead to fall sick, but not understanding certain things. So, for example, I have a friend who says that, who believes this idea of genes, and whenever I asked him he brought it up, and I asked him questions, and then he felt very, very stupid, which shows you that questions itself force people to think, so to some extent, and also it also helps you to guide their thinking. So he says, okay, fine, genes are responsible for a lot of illnesses. I said, watch this. So if you say genes, right, give or take, there are 4 men in a family, 3 kids, one father. 2 of them have maybe cancer of a particular organ, or maybe cancer, let's say cancer of the pancreas, and the other 2 don't have. What do you think the difference is? He said he doesn't know. Luck? I said no. What about a situation where somebody has a particular gene, right, that's predisposed to maybe a particular cancer, but his lifestyle that he lives does not make that cancer happen? Do you think the cancer is going to happen? I looked around and said, no. So what does that tell you? The genes, right, might be a blueprint for possibility of that illness. But if the lifestyle of that person does not match, right, the lifestyle does not match what will trigger those genes to come up and cause cancer, he's not going to have cancer. And there's been countless research telling people that you might have any sort of gene, right, but if you live your life in a certain way, you have certain results. So, for example, people use this excuse of why they are fat and why they can't go to the gym to build muscles. But if you keep asking them, keep asking them questions that are more of yes or no. And if you want to influence somebody, try to ask questions that make them lean towards the positive side, because you want to effect a change in behavior. And this is also what to do with yourself. Now, speaking about negotiating, right, I've used this tactic several times to negotiate. And before I've done this negotiation several times, I have never read a book on negotiation. It's just questions that I've been asking. And mind you, this is me looking back. This is not me reading books, because I've been negotiating since I would say I was 19 with my dad, not just with my dad, but on behalf of my dad. So different deals. And then looking back when I was 25, I was like, wow, how did I do this? It's just because I asked questions. And I noticed that since I was very, very small, I had been asking questions. Now, so asking questions to me is second nature. I am very curious. A lot of people, right, they find it very difficult. Right? They find it irritating that I ask them questions. But I ask questions, even till today when I'm in my MMA class, I ask questions that may disrupt the class, but that's just me. And every single time I've been in a room for negotiation, I have almost always succeeded in that negotiation. And looking back at it, mind you, looking back at it is because I asked questions. I remember my last negotiation, I remember walking into the room, it was just me and 4 people. And by asking questions, and mind you, these questions was not a way of me trying to hardball them, because all of I'm a firm believer that if I'm negotiating with you, I want to have a situation where both of us are winning, where it's a win-win situation. It's not a win-lose situation. So what will happen best for both parties is a situation where we both win. And whenever I kept on asking them questions and they were rethinking their answers, that was what made me strike with a very good deal. To be very, very frank, I felt like I think I multiplied the deal by 2 times what I was getting. But still, they weren't losing, which I'll get back to in a different video, because to be very, very frank, I don't have a step-by-step guide on how to negotiate, right? All I know is that I have used some tactics and they've worked for me. So I'll get back to you later. Questioning. Whenever somebody wants to try to manipulate you, which obviously a lot of women try to manipulate men, and they mostly imply questions. They mostly use questions to manipulate men. I'm just letting you know the power of questioning, because it feels like I may have digressed to a video I promise to make in the future, which is the art of asking questions, right? So let me see. So now, whenever you force yourself to be in a yes or no question, it is you being brutally honest with yourself. Because to be very, very frank, yes, I know a lot of questions have nuances, right? So that may not be directly yes or no, but whenever you force yourself to be yes or no, you are forcing yourself to be objective about something. You're forcing yourself to take bitter truth. And with those bitter truths, which makes you imply action. So whenever you're facing like honest truth, bitter truth, you're asking yourself questions. Yourself, not other people. You're seeing that the answers lie within you. Right? It's the same thing with therapy. The best therapists, they barely tell you what to do. They may imply it, but with proper questioning. So the take here is for you to look for a behavior that you are trying to mimic. So I've left the persuasive parts. I showed you the power of questioning while you're persuading. Now I've told you about negotiating. I'm talking about breaking limiting beliefs and living the life that you want to live. It's by whenever you have a limiting belief, question the belief. Look for people who have already achieved that thing. And at some point, it will begin to make sense to you. Like I said, questions are very tricky, right? Because you can ask yourself questions, and because of your biased nature, you might miss the point. So learn how to ask questions that are yes or no. And the more yeses you get, the more your subconscious, because your life is ruled more by the subconscious part of you, the more yeses you answer, the more willing and the more willing you are to actually effect that action, and the more you move towards it. That is a real hack for life. A real hack that nobody ever tells you when it comes to behavioral change. Will you do this? I don't know. Okay, fine. That's the start of asking yourself questions, trying to break that belief. I myself, at this current position, I have limiting beliefs, but when I make videos like this, it's sometimes, even at the gym, it exposes my limiting belief. And before you know it, I begin to ask questions. And it's best to do it on a paper and biro, right? And just speaking about paper and biro, one of the most effective habits you can ever do is to journal. And when you're journaling, you're asking yourself questions, you are answering them, and you answer them on the black and white paper. When you reflect on those answers, it tells you more about yourself. That is why the people who journal have one of the best self-improvement methods or self-improved lives in the world. So yes, that's it. Let me just see if I have any quotes here. It says, If you want to create a positive behavior, don't make statements, because statements are like false, right? But if you ask questions, if you ask binary questions, yes or no questions, this will help the person to think. People are more likely to answer yes if it will bring them close to who they want to be. And once they answer yes, and the yes is more likely to come true. Yep. So guys, that's it. I really wish that this breakdown is something that will inspire you to go and grab a copy of this book. It's a book that I would say it's written by Steve Bartlett. And Stephen Bartlett is a guy who I feel like he already does this thing almost every day. He brings ideas that will change your life. So if you listen to his podcast, you get to realize that there's no way you listen to his podcast and not just get value from it. You don't just become a better person. So I really hope that this video has served you. This video has made you think about how you can begin to improve your life, be more persuasive, break limiting beliefs, and please, one last now says, please use this thing for good. Because if you truly understand this thing, which is underlining the art of questioning mixed with psychology, you can actually be very, very, I use the word powerful. You can be, it creates a thin line, because some people can cross that thin line, become persuasive, right? When you're persuasive, you're helping both parties, right? So, I mean, digress a little bit because it's me. I digress a lot. So when you become persuasive, for example, I had a friend of mine who came to me and said that he feels I'm very manipulative. And I asked the question, all right, go ahead, tell me where I manipulated you. He said he doesn't know, but he keeps doing the things that I tell him to do. I said no. So I felt like at that moment I came up with the idea that no, don't think I'm manipulating you. I think I'm persuading you to do things on your behalf for your own good, right? Then I asked him a question. Is there anything that I've told you to do that is for have you seen me profit from anything I have told you to do? He thought about it. It was a pause for a few minutes. I said no. And yet, you call me manipulative. Then he began to, stammer and everything. I'm like, that is the point. That is where everything falls apart. That's why it dawned on me that it's a very thin line between manipulating and persuasive. I've gotten comments from other people. That is why, moving on, I started to take all of my personal, friendly talk and bring it online. So when people see it, you know that it's coming from a genuine place. You can either listen to my advice or you don't listen to it. I'm not speaking to you for you to go and do rubbish. But I tell you that this thing is so powerful. But if you misuse it, it looks like it's a thin line between persuading and manipulating. They have the same way. It's the same way a gold digger uses the exact same tactics of somebody who is very caring and loving. It's the same way the person they call a fuckboy, uses the same tactics of a lover boy, of a very charming person. So I know I have digressed a lot, but I just felt like I should share that because it's a very powerful message and I figured I was touched to share it. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really, really hope that this video served you. Please kindly share this video with somebody who you know will like it. It's actions like that gets people that enforces a change around the world for people to become more persuasive. And when you become more persuasive, you get more of what you want out of life because you are more persuasive. You don't force people. You do things that are beneficial to both parties. And when you become more persuasive, you become more assertive, and you get what you want out of life. But manipulations, it's a one-sided thing, and people rarely get profits in return. So thank you very much. I just feel like I should keep going, but no, I'm going to stop now. If you ever feel like you want more of it, feel free. Let's talk in the comment section. We can do more, and something that I think I would enjoy. Talk to you soon, and bye for now.